And it's 3:30, and this is the KC9VKV QSO-VLOG network for Friday afternoon. From now until 5 we are recording, and if you have a radio, you want to check out the audio, give us a shout, and we will record and post you up on YouTube within the next couple of days so you can hear your audio. Or if you need some help in setting up your transmitter, we do that also. So, like I say, this is the QSO-VLOG network for Friday afternoon from now until 5. Kilo Charlie 9 Victor, Kilo Victor, give us a shout.
Do you copy, Jim? K1GZL.
Roger, Charlie. I was hoping that you would catch the blow-by and switch over. I'm trying to cut the RV service net a break and slip down 1K just to alleviate some of the blow-by. Roger.
Roger. I just got in the check here. So you're coming about an S8 direct. It's a sunny day, and it's up to 70 degrees, and we hit 70 yesterday, so summer is approaching, thank goodness. Okay, I'll turn it back over to you, Jim, and see how you copy. You're probably getting me better on one of the SDRs. The long-distance skip is not great right now, but you're very Q5. You are absolutely solid copy. KC9VKV, K1GZL.
Roger, Charlie. Well, you know, I tell you what, I was hoping that you were been working on your antenna there. I wasn't for sure, but I would have my fingers crossed that you'd be able to, get that in, take the sledgehammer and kick that antenna around a little bit and get it back into good shape. But anyway, I tell you, last Friday was one of the worst 40-meter days I think I've ever seen. I was getting fade-outs on 1KWs, Roger.
Yeah, I can understand that. I don't know what conditions were like that day. I was outside. I'm still working on this thing. We've had a lot of windy days, and I can't do much when it's blowing. Right now, there's some wind, and I am making some progress, but the big pole I have to climb is probably still a week or so away. But you're coming in very fine, direct. Here's how you sound on my damaged antenna, direct. Here it is.
Was one of the worst 40-meter days I think I've ever seen. I was getting fade-outs on 1KWs, Roger.
Okay, KC9VKV, if you can hear me. Maybe you're getting me better on one of the closer-in stations, K1GZL.
Mostly the Milford PA SDR. Man, that radio SDR is just a beautiful receiver most of the time. You know, I am running 4 now. I'm running Rochester, Raleigh, Milford, and Arlington. So between those 4, I've tried to create kind of a grid work for the southeast, or rather northeast United States. And so those, I've got them monitoring, and I've got that 6-position rotary switch, so I can select through those. And the problem with them, though, is, I can run through the 6-position rotary switch in about 1.5 seconds, but I have to wait till the latency on some of the SDRs to clear. And some of those latencies are out to 10 or 15 seconds. It's just unbelievable, Roger.
Yeah, that delays everything. I don't know what causes that delay like that, but that's pretty bad. Right now, you're up to 5/9. Level's about a 7, 6 to 7 with background static. You really sound good, Jim, direct, and here it is again.
SDRs to clear, and some of those latencies are out to 10 or 15 seconds. It's just unbelievable, Roger.
Okay, back to you, Jim. Yes, the dandelions are out. The dandelions are out. The leaves are out about 60, maybe almost two-thirds. Two-thirds out on the leaves on the trees, and a little less than a half out on the trees 200 of my property. KC9VKV, K1GZL, and I'll say hello to Milford, Pennsylvania.
Roger. Now, in that little piece there, Charlie, I did switch over to Rochester in the middle of it, and Rochester was hotter. But by the time we got to the end of it, you were back on Milford, PA. So I just, it's funny how they swing back and forth like that. But I think overall, Milford, PA is probably the best. You're about a 12 over at that point, Roger.
Roger.
Okay, Roger on that. So long as it's getting out, I can't wait to get this antenna fixed, because I'm really not putting out a heck of a lot here. The SWR is bad, very, very bad, and yet I'm still getting into Australia in the morning almost consistently, day after day. With VK3 Mike Ontario. But then again, the secret there is he has one heck of a beautiful receiving antenna. He's only still running barefoot. He's got amplifier problems. He's still running barefoot there at 150 watts. And yesterday morning he was 25 over 9. This morning about 15 over, so the band was not as good. Well, look, Jim, I'll let you get other stations in there, but I guess we're really down at the bottom of this sunspot cycle, and I'll be very happy to see it come up again, and I hope it does. KC9, I'll try to get on next weekend. If I'm weaker, it'll be because this antenna, which is damaged, is out of the circuit completely, at least temporarily, and I'm on my cloud warmer. 3 elements, but firing straight up, and it's good out to about 250 miles. Beyond that, gosh knows. KC9VKV, K1GZL, Clarksville, Northern New Hampshire.
Roger, Charlie. Now, before you go, I want you to look into your crystal ball there for conditions, and see if you can tell me when you think we're going to start having some good conditions on 40 meters.
Well, it's hard to say. I think we're probably going to have to wait another year or two. Then it'll come up, but I don't know how good the next cycle is going to be. I have no idea, but the reports I've had is not going to be great. But anything better than now. In the early morning, I hardly ever hear anything on 20 meters early in the morning, whereas 5-6 years ago, that band was hotter than a pistol early in the morning. But right now, during the day, you get the stateside, and you get the Europeans in the late afternoon and evening. But as far as the South Pacific goes, it's a failure right now, Jim, and we have to use the lower frequencies.
Roger, Charlie. All right, so I appreciate the input there, and we'll just keep our fingers crossed that Mother Nature kind of relents and gives us some halfway decent conditions every once in a while on 40. We sure would appreciate that. Well, with that, I'll say 3's up that way, Charlie, and you have a real good Friday afternoon and a good weekend, and hopefully, you'll be harnessing that antenna into perfection, and you'll be giving me a 40 over direct. Roger.
Well, it's possible. I don't know how much difference it'll make, but it should make some. If it doesn't, I'm going to want to know why. But that's going to take a lot of climbing in that front pole. A lot of climbing. Ugh. Oh, boy. Climbing. Ugh. Oh, boy. Well, there's a phone ringing. Okay, 73, Jim. Thank you so much. All clear.
Roger, Roger, Charlie. It's probably Microsoft from India calling and telling you how much you owe them. Threes, buddy. We'll catch you next Friday. This is KC9VKV and the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG program. If you've got a radio you want to check out, give us a shout. We are recording now until 5, and then we'll post it within the next couple of days up on YouTube. And you'll be able to go there and check out your audio and see what you think. And also, if you need a little tune-up help, well, we do that on the side. So give us a shout. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor.
Give us a shout. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Kilo Victor.
I had about 3 stations in there, and I went through my SDRs. I think I'm best on my local antenna. So you come back and loudest one, give me a call.
Kilo 3 X-ray Oscar.
Kilo 3 X-ray Oscar. Go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Rick, Romeo India Papa, and I'm located near Martinsburg, West Virginia. And just thought I'd check in with you here. I'm running a relatively brand new 10-way TX990FG. It was just recently set up. Running therefore 100 watts to a quarter-wave vertical, an elevated quarter-wave vertical, about 12 feet above the ground with a couple of elevated radios. So what am I coming in over there?
I'm copying you. Looks like about 4 dB above my noise level on my local antenna. What was the name again, please?
The name is Rick, Romeo India Papa.
Romeo India Papa.
That's Rip Van Winkle.
Ah, yes, sir. Okay. I got you there. And you're running 100 watts, and what's your location?
I'm near Martinsburg, West Virginia. It's in the eastern panhandle of the eastern part of the state.
Roger that. Now, I've got an Arlington, Virginia SDR. Come back and tell me just a little bit about your antenna, and I'll run through my SDRs and see if I've got one near you. Roger?
Okay, the vertical, full size, mounted about 12 feet above the ground, and it has, normally has 4 elevated radios, but I think one of them fell down recently, so I'll have to check that out, over.
Roger. Well, you know, things like that happen, and it sometimes if it's difficult to get, if your antenna is difficult to get to, sometimes it takes a while for things to get repaired. I have found that the easier it is to get to the ends of my dipoles, the better they seem to run. I guess it is because I can get to them and without too much pain, and I do tend to try to keep them down to a really severe low SWR, like 0.01s, 0.02s, 3s, right in that area, if all things being equal and it doesn't rain. Now, if it rains, rain will shift the SWR. When you're down to 0.01s, rain will shift that SWR up. So I don't do anything when it's raining, Roger.
Yeah, I get that. At this point, let it stay dry. But, well, this antenna works pretty well. I've worked a lot of GX with it on CW, and not quite as good as a 40-meter beam would be, but who could get one of those things up around here? I do have a small 5-bander on a small tower back here down to the garage, and that needs to work, and I've been trying to find somebody to go up and make some adjustments to that, but may have a line on somebody. But it works okay. It's just a little bit out of alignment with the rotator. I'm trying to get it straightened out so I don't have to do the mental gymnastics when I want to point it to somebody. Well, anyway, I just wanted to check in and see how I was coming in. Where I didn't quite get exactly where you are, but you sound good here. You're at 5.9 and well above the noise, so you're doing a good job out there. So I'll say 7-3 for you, and turn it back to you, and let somebody else have at it. This is K3XO.
Roger, Rip, before you go, sir, I just wondered, I'm copying you now like about 4 dB above my noise level. So with 4 dB above my noise level, I should be copying you very well. And I'm just wondering if you might be interested in, a pet peeve of mine is the articulation of the audio in the top end. And if, just out of curiosity, if you were to crank in a couple of clicks hotter top end EQ, just to see what difference that might make as far as perceiving the words, Roger.
You know what, I'm not exactly sure how to do that. I did look at that a lot more, but I haven't had it long enough to really get that familiar with it. So I think I'll kind of do it now, but I'll keep that in mind, and I'll see if I can check it out, and I can maybe try it in a future time.
Roger, what radio are you running, sir?
Yeah, the 10-1-2-S-5-90-SG-O.
Roger. Okay, take notes. Crank in a couple of top-end EQ, couple more clicks top-end EQ. Check your ALC to be sure that you're running mid-scale to 2/3. To optimize your audio peaks, look at your ALC, and after you make your EQ, now EQ will shift the ALC just a tad, so you want to do your EQ and then consult your ALC to be sure that you're running mid-scale to 2/3, and that is corrected by the mic volume control. What we also suggest is that you run your compressor at about a 3. Engage your compressor at about a 3. It's a token amount, but it starts the fattening process. So that compression at 3 out of 10, and the ALC mid-scale to 2/3, you should turn up a 3 dB dynamic range, which is a pretty fat signal, and then it's if it's further enhanced by the top-end EQ, you should be in good business. Roger.
Okay, that's very interesting. Actually, as I'm looking at the metering, I have the meter set for the SWR. I'm looking at the metering, and the ALC is running a little high. It's a little high. I'm tracking the microphone
I did have to shift to the Rochester SDR. My signal did fade. It's amazing how, the signals move around like that, and that's why I'm running a SDR scanner, 4-channel SDR scanner, more or less. I'm monitoring Rochester, Raleigh, Milford, PA, and Arlington, Virginia, and then my local antenna. So I have five receive inputs to pick the best 1 out of 5. Roger. So right now, Rip, I am about to run out of your signal there, but if you did crank in some more top end on your audio, it would help you penetrate. And the whole object of radio is to be able to understand what each other is saying, and with a little more top-end clarity, it helps a great deal when your signal becomes in the marginal area from time to time. Roger?
Roger that. I'll have to look at the manual and find the proper menu to do those adjustments. Send me screen, all that.
Roger, sir. Your book is the a beautiful thing. And you know, what you could do is make you a little cheat sheet from the book, and you could just write down like EQ and put the page number down by it, you know, ALC, how you get to there, you know, what page that's on, and just a quick reference cheat sheet for you personally, so you don't have to go from one end of that book to the other. So anyway, Rep, threes to you, sir. Thanks for checking in, and we will get this posted up on YouTube within the next couple of days. So if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, that will take you to our QSO-VLOG page, and on that page you'll be looking for QSO entitled My Group Aircheck 6719. Today's date, My Group Aircheck 6719. Threes to you there, Rich. Rip. I hear a Kilo Delta something. Who is that? I heard a Kilo Delta. Kilo Delta, are you out there?
Kilo November 4 Tango Oscar X-ray.
November 4 Tango Oscar X-ray. Go ahead. This is KC9VKV.
Yes, how you doing there? I spoke to you a couple of weeks ago, but I was just above the noise level. Am I coming in any better today? Over.
I'm copying you 5 dB above my residual noise level at Louisville, Kentucky. Roger, if you come back just a minute and tell me a little bit about your antenna, I will consult my other SDRs and see if I got a better copy on them. Roger?
That's all right. I got antenna going east to west. East to west, strung up between a couple of pine trees. Over.
Roger, Roger. I copied. I finally got to Arlington, Virginia, and I got a pretty good copy on you in Arlington, Virginia. And I heard you mention something about the pine trees. Tell me about that again.
And I heard you mention something about the pine trees. Tell me that again.
I'm down in Florida. I'm not in Virginia. RV antenna. My radio is a 7610. Over.
Oh boy, I wish I had your radio. Hey, would you be interested in an experiment? I've been waiting for a 7610 to come by. I want to play with your drive for just a minute.
10 to come by. I want to play with your drive for just a minute.
Gosh, you have faded down. You were right even with my noise level that time. Let me go back to my local antenna and see what I got. You got a copy now? Boy, I'll tell you what. K4TOX, what's the name there anyway?
What? K4TOX, what's the name there anyway?
I'm sorry, N4TOX, what's the name? I got Sierra Sierra. What's the front? I got you, Russ. Roger, roger that. Again, my pet peeve, if you had the ability to crank in a little more top-end EQ on your audio, it would help the perception in marginal situations. You know, with the right EQ, folks can hear what you're saying, even though you are beneath their noise level. If you have a very articulated audio, they can make out what you're saying, even though your modulation is actually beneath their noise level. Roger? Yeah, pretty much faded out now. But maybe conditions will improve later on, and you can give us another shout. Mother Nature tends to turn these things around rather quickly. So if you hear my signal come up to you, give me another shout, and we'll see what we can do from there. Roger?
Yeah, this is Kilo November 4 Tango Oscar X-ray. Do you copy me? Over.
Yes, I do. I'm copying you now about 5 dB above my noise level. Roger?
That's a Roger. I copy you. You're 5'9" over here. Over.
Roger. So did you copy what I was mentioning about sharpening your audio up just a little bit by adding a little more top-end EQ? Roger, Roger?
Yes, how is that done?
How is that done?
That's a Roger.
Okay, that is done through your equalization, through your EQ on your radio. Most modern radios do have EQ on board. So you just go to EQ, and you'll usually have either a 2-band or a 3-band EQ, and you just go. What I prefer, if you have 3-band EQ, I prefer to keep the mid-band flat. No boost, no cut on the mid-band. That's like a 1K, 1.2K, or 800 cycles, somewhere around in there. That 1K, the middle one, just leave that flat, because what you want to do is make a difference between the top and the bottom. And if you boost the mid-range, then you have to go much further to make a difference to catch up with the now increased mid-range. So if you have a 3-band EQ, keep that center band flat, and then go up to your top-end treble EQ and crank in about 2 or 3 dB. 2 or 3 dB of top-end EQ. I would, for the moment, keep the bottom end flat, and we could check that the next Friday. So I know that top end is going to help you immensely, and once you get that top end, then we'll see what we need to do with the bottom end. Roger, Roger? Gosh, so I missed some of that. You went under my noise level. Let's see, come back and let me hear where you are.
He'll get back with you next week, he said.
Thanks so much for the relay. Roger, Roger. Well, yeah, try it next week, and we'll see how it goes there. Hopefully, Mother Nature will be a little bit better off than what she is this afternoon, apparently. And who was the relay?
Afternoon, apparently. And who was the relay?
Yeah, this is Whiskey 4, Japan, Papa Delta, Pete down here in North Carolina.
Oh, Pete, a beautiful signal, sir. What's your radio?
Oh, Pete, a beautiful signal, sir. What's your radio?
Yeah, we're running. You're up and down, but peaking 09, a little over. But the band is kind of up and down, and I know we've talked before. In fact, you've recorded me before, but I can't dig out from my aging brain the name and the call, so you might give that to me. Again, Pete, Charlotte, here in North Carolina. The call W4, Japan, Papa Delta.
Roger, Roger, Pete. I remember the voice. Really, really nice voice and nice audio. That radio just does you so much justice. It's unbelievable. And if you want to hear it, we are recording Aircheck, and we will be posting this on YouTube in the next couple of days. So if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor. That will take you to our QSO-VLOG page, and on that page you'll be looking for an air check entitled My Group Aircheck 6719. My Group Aircheck 6719. And the name here is Jim, Juliet, India, Mike. Roger?
Yeah, okay. Very good, Jim, and great to talk to you again. As I said, the signal is up and down, but you always sound great. As I recall, here in the Louisville, Kentucky area, I may be wrong there, but it seems to me that's the case. But, hey, we'll let you run, and always a pleasure. Great to work you again. KC9 Victor Kilowatt Victor from Whiskey 4, Japan, Papa Delta.
Roger, Roger, Pete. Always a pleasure, sir. Yeah, and we're located just across the river from Louisville, Kentucky, in sunny southern Indiana. A little sleepy hamlet called New Albany. Just, I can see downtown Louisville from here. It's about 3 miles away. So good to work, sir, and great sounding radio. I think you'll really love the sound. And you wound up best on my local antenna versus any of the SDRs. So you will have maximum audio reproduction by coming through us locally. It seems like the SDRs, for whatever reason, and I'm not sure why, have a slight deficiency on the bottom end. You would think they would be just flat down to zip one cycle or so, but it seems like, I don't know, they're a little light from about 150 cycles on down for whatever reason. Anyway, threes to you there, Pete, and thanks for checking in. And if you get a chance, check back in next Friday. Always love to talk to North Carolina and those beautiful stations there, like yours. Threes to you, sir. This is KC9VKV, the QSO-VLOG program, network, whatever, for Friday afternoon. If you've got a radio, you want to check out the audio. We are recording till 5, so give me a shout. KC9VKV.
Whiskey 9, Charlie Yankee.
Charlie Yankee station. Come back with a call sign again.
Whiskey 9, Charlie Yankee.
Roger, Roger, and the name, sir.
I'm located about 25 miles southwest of Chicago, Illinois.
I got the Chicago part. Repeat the name. You were faded.
J-A-Y-E.
Roger, J. What radio are you running, sir?
It's an ICOM 7300 into a 40-meter, 20-meter trap dipole.
Roger, and let me put my hat on here, and I will prognosticate that you are using the supplied stock hand mic.
That is correct.
Roger, that's such a beautiful microphone. You have to spend so much money to try to duplicate that sound. That's just, an electret microphone in that handset, in that hand microphone, and it just sounds so beautiful. The only thing is that you have to work it across mic as opposed to directly into it. You kind of put it up on the side of your mouth and talk across it. That eliminates the transients. But the better still than that was to go down to your local music store and get yourself a foam windscreen. They're shorter now. They're only about 3 inches long, and they just fit right over that hand mic just perfectly, and just solves all of those transients. You could work directly into that mic with that foam windscreen. Roger?
Oh, well, thanks so much. That's some good advice. Yeah, I've been reluctant to replace it because it just seems to work so well.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And what would make it work even better is about 2 clicks top end EQ, leave the bottom flat, a little top end EQ on the treble, and then check your compressor and put it in line at about a 3, just a token amount of compression, a 3. and then consult your ALC to see that you're running mid-scale to 2/3, and if you need to correct that, then you just pump up your mic gain until you are running mid-scale to 2/3 on your ALC. Roger?
Yeah, that's about what I'm doing. I'm running about right mid-scale right now, and I'll just check the equalization. I did play with that a little bit, but I don't know what it was.
Roger. EQ on that 7300 is menu, system, or settings. Sideband, transmit sideband, and then you're pretty close into EQ, I think. Then it's I think ICOM calls that treble control. Roger.
Yeah, I found it here. So I guess I'll try to put it up on a +2 to see if that sounds any better.
Yeah, Roger, just slip that up on a 2 dB above whatever you are. And I'm not sure what your EQ is currently, but 2 clicks hotter top end EQ than where you are.
Okay, I had done that with the last transmission. It was flat at 0, so I put it at +2.
Excellent, excellent. All right, now you should be running. Tell me about your antenna. Let me look at your audio.
A dipole running from the corner of my eave out to a tree in my house, and it's running about hopefully going to be higher with a max by the end of the summer. Back to you.
Roger that. Let's see, and the name is Jay. Roger, Roger.
Roger, Roger.
Alrighty, I'm looking at your modulation on a VU meter, and I see that it looks to be about 3 dB dynamic range now. Of course, my noise level is not too much below that, so I can't see below my noise level. My noise level is the hindrance as far as seeing exactly what you're doing, but it looks like right in the vicinity of 3 dB dynamic range, which interpolates to about 80 to 85% average peak modulation. Roger?
Okay, well, that sounds pretty good. 85% sounds pretty good.
Roger, now that's average peak modulation. Not just peak modulation, but average peak modulation. And what you're talking about when you're saying peak modulation, and it's the difference between the highest part of your audio and the lowest part of your audio. If I were looking at you speaking into a PA system, and considering that it was flat and everything, and I had my meter tied to the output of that PA system, unprocessed, you would be running about a 10 dB dynamic range. My meter would be, I would have it set for 0, which is kind of almost straight up and down, and then when you ceased speaking, that meter would drop down to the left-hand side almost to nothing. So we would say that unprocessed audio has a 10 dB dynamic range. Well, then we start using that limiter or the compressor first, and setting at about a 3 out of 10, and then we run your ALC at mid-scale to 2/3, and what you're doing there, and when you're looking at that ALC, you're actually looking at the output of the limiter. You're looking at the output of the limiter, and as you push your audio from mid-scale to 2/3, you're actually getting a little limiting action there. So between your compressor lightly set at a 3 and that mid-scale to 2/3 on your ALC, that's how you wind up with that 3 dB dynamic range on those 7300s, and that's just a beautiful signal, right, Roger?
Roger, that's what you just said. ALC meter on this radio. It just makes no set my ALC2, my gain, mic gain 2. But I don't, you said that it's moving towards 2/3, so right now it's going to like a 50% scale. That's you.
Roger, you did sink down just a little bit on your signal, so I did miss that. But like I say, the way you handle that ALC is through your mic gain. you want to obviously put your compressor in there at a 3 first, and then adjust your mic gain if you need to where your ALC reads mid-scale to 2/3. Roger, Roger.
Roger, Roger. Yeah, I had my mic gain set at 50%, which was giving me 50% scale on the ALC. And I guess I could raise the gain slightly if it's okay to go above the 50%.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's the actual number on the mic gain is just a reference point. Depending on the mic you have, depends on where you have to set that mic gain. But what you want to do is wind up with a mid-scale to 2/3 reading on your ALC, whatever you have to do mic gain wise to get there. Roger.
Roger, Roger. Yeah, I have bumped it up from 50%. I think I have it like at 65 right now. I'm actually seeing the mic gain stay actually about the same in terms of, not the mic gain, the ALC.
Roger. Now, just looking at when you were up, and I could read you. It looked like your average peak modulation was in about the 2, a 2 average peak modulation. Roger, Roger.
I've been playing around with the mic gain, and actually the ALC reading is the same in terms of the deflection. I don't think you have a 7300. I was confused about the ALC red line, and then there's no red line. So in terms of the half to 2/3, it's really not clear if it's full deflection or if it's just along the red line on my radio. I'd like to find documentation about how to read that scale.
Roger, I think the most important thing is you probably do have a red reference on that ALC at the max point, and you want to for sure stay out of the red. You want to definitely stay out of the red because you will be headed towards distortion at that point. So mid-scale to 2/3 is my recommendation. You will probably you've got the AOC meter. Roger, Roger.
Yes, I do.
Okay, and it's got a marked area for that ALC meter to ride in. Roger, Roger.
That's correct, and the first half of that area is the red line below it.
I didn't copy that. Repeat.
The first half of the ALC scale has a red line below it, but there's no documentation of what that red line indicates.
Roger, if there's anything on the left-hand side of the meter red, don't worry about it. It's red on the right-hand side that you got to worry about, Roger.
Yeah, I've never managed to make this thing go red. I guess I could turn my mic gain up to 100% and see what happens. You can try that.
Roger. Well, yeah, you don't want to do that, but that's such a nice radio, and it achieves the 3 dB dynamic range with just a minimum distortion, just almost no distortion. Roger.
Yeah, I'm very happy with the radio. I got it as a Christmas gift from my wonderful spouse, so I have her to thank.
Oh, Roger, yes. Would it be that I had a companion that felt the same way? I would be running my 7300, but no.
Well, I'm just very, very lucky. Well, I'm going to say 73. Thanks for the advice on setting my audio. It's very much appreciated. I will talk to you next time. Hope to catch you next time. And I heard a little bit talking about the YouTube video, so I'll go check that out. This is Whiskey 9 Charlie Yankee. I'll be clear on your final.
Roger, Jay. Yeah, go to YouTube, do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor. That'll take you to the QSO-VLOG page. On the page, look for a group. A mental meltdown here. Today has been a long day. Look for a QSO entitled My Group Aircheck 6 6719. My group Aircheck 6719. And just that final thought, if you drop by your local music store and get yourself a little windscreen, a foam windscreen. They have them in all different kinds of colors. You just pick a color, they got it. So, and it'll do just such a beautiful job as far as that last little thing about the transients of an electret microphone would just be solved, and you would be just beautiful. So 3 is that way, and you have yourself a good day. And if you get a chance, check in next Friday, and we'll compare notes. 3s for now. This is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, and the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG page. If you've got a radio you want to check out the audio, we are recording live from now until 5. This is KC9VKV.
Delta 8, Delta Juliet.
There was a Delta Juliet, I believe.
Delta 8, Delta Juliet. Name is Mark here in southern West Virginia.
Roger, Roger. Mark, how's it going, sir?
Doing great. Had a rainy day. It's been raining most of the night and all day long, and been doing a little work here in the HINGE shack and rearranging some stuff. Heard you in there. You sound great down here in the southern part of West Virginia.
Roger that, sir. What radio are you running?
I'm running a Yaesu FTDX 1200.
Roger, Roger. Sounds good. Come back and tell me about your antenna, and I'll look at your audio.
Okay, yeah, I'm running it's a double G5RV, 204 feet long with 62 feet of ladder line. And it's at about 70 feet there. And it's done quite well for me for about the last year. It's got almost exactly 81 countries worked between 40 and 20 meters, brother.
Roger that. Okay, I've looked at your audio, and it looks to be about 5 dB dynamic range. So you could be fatter if you wanted to be. You know, it's just a matter of personal preference. But I've found a 3 dB dynamic range is a nice fat signal with minimum distortion and no up against the wall feel to it, you know. And the way I do it and suggest doing it is putting that compressor in there at about a 3. It's nothing that you're going to hear right off. And what I say is, if you really start to hear your compressor, you've gone too far. You don't want to hear that compressor working. And a 3 pretty much guarantees you not to hear that compressor working, but it does start to fatten up that signal a little bit. And then once past that, into your ALC, and you want to, you know, if you ran that ALC mid-scale to 2/3, the end product would be right at a 3 dB dynamic range with an average peak modulation of between 80 and 85%. Roger?
Well, I sort of back to my gain off for about 5%. I may have been running a little hard on that. I haven't had the radio on in a couple of days there. Been working a little DX there on the other one, and I forgot what setting I had it on. I was bad to make it a little hot.
Frequencies in use, sir.
So, anyways, I don't know if that helped any, but did back it off about 5%.
Well, my noise level has moved up to about a 3, but it looked like you were running about a 2.5. So you're doing real well as far as that's concerned. You know, we talk about unprocessed audio having a dynamic range of 10 dB, and what that means is the 10 dB dynamic range is the difference between the loudest part of your signal and the softest part of your signal. So unprocessed audio has about a 10 dB dynamic range, and then as you start to limit just a little bit and or compress just a little bit and then limit just a little bit, you fatten that signal up to where it's now, instead of a 10 dB dynamic range, it's a 3 dB dynamic range, and it means that you move from about 30% average peak modulation when you have a 10 dB dynamic range up to an 80 to 85% peak modulation when you're running 3 dB. Roger?
Yeah, Roger. Well, a lot of the technical stuff, I mean, I understand a little bit of what you're saying, so is audio good or bad?
It's great. I prefer just a little bit more top end EQ, but I would probably say that to God if God checked in. I would say great signal, but just a little more top end.
Okay. Well, I'm just running just the natural radio. I thought the EQ was MD100. Nothing turned on. It's off on the bottom of the bass, so I just run it like it is.
Roger, yeah, I think it sounds good, sir. No problem at all, and I appreciate the check-in. And if you get a chance, join us next Friday. We'll compare notes and see what Mother Nature's been up to and what kind of contacts you've been making, Roger.
Okay, good deal. Hey, good to meet you there, and enjoyed the QSO and the audio check. And things of that nature. I just, plug it in and talk. But hey, I appreciate the information. You learn a little bit. I'll say 73 there on your final. And thanks for coming back to me there. This is Alpha Delta 8 Delta Japan. My name is Mark here in southern West Virginia.
Roger, Mark. And come back one more time phonetically with your call sign.
Yeah, it is Alpha Delta 8 Delta Juliet.
Gotcha, sir. Thank you so much. Threes to you. Have a great Friday afternoon and a beautiful weekend. This is KC9VKV and the QSO-VLOG network. If you've got a radio, you want to check out the audio, give us a shout. Or if you need a little tune-up on your transmitter, give us a shout. This is KC9VKV.
This is KC9VKV.
Just caught the tail end of somebody really loud. Come back with the call sign again.
Alpha Charlie 1 Delta Radio AC1DR. Over.
AC1DR. What's the name, sir?
Alpha Charlie 1 Delta Romeo. His name is Steve in Warren, Vermont. Over.
Roger, Steve. What radio are you running, sir?
Running a ICOM 7300 into an Elecraft KPA 500 amplifier, putting out about 450 to 500 watts.
Well, I'm monitoring you on the Milford PA SDR, and you seem to be about 15 dB over their noise level, Roger?
Well, that's good, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Anything, that kind of signal from anywhere is great. Mother Nature's not been particularly generous on the 40 meters lately, Roger.
Hey, Roger.
Roger. You're running 45 in Vermont. 45, over.
Roger. Now, what is 45?
45.
Say again?
What signal strength is that?
You're 45.
All righty. That's not a S meter reading, Roger.
You're 45 signal strength.
Roger. I guess I'm just used to those higher of around 10 overs and stuff like that. We do try to get out as best we can. This is SB220 running about a kW into a inverted V with about a 0.01 SWR. Roger.
Roger.
So tell me about your 7300 there. What's the best thing you like about that?
Well, it's very excellent value for the money. A great waterfall, and it has everything you need for a station. And I usually get good audio reports. I'm curious what you think.
Roger, I'm looking at it probably about a 3.5 dB dynamic range. Could be a little fatter if you might be interested. I would engage your compressor at about a 3 out of 10. I would engage your compressor at about a 3 out of 10, and then consult my ALC and with my mic gain in hand, and adjust my ALC to mid-scale to 2/3. Roger?
Roger. That's exactly what I have.
Roger. And then what mic are you using?
I'm using a headset with a boom mic, a Heil Pro Set Elite IC, Pro Set Elite High C with the Electret microphone.
Roger that. Roger that. Now, you might want to experiment with moving that mic just a little bit further away from your mouth. I was hearing some transients, so if you might add another half-inch distance between the boom and your lips, that might soften those transients down a tad. Roger?
Roger. How's that? Any better there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Over.
Minimized them a great deal. Yeah, if you when you start working that mic, an Electret, when you work it really close, then you have to be sure that number one, you're working across it, or you increase the wind filter, the foam factor. You can double up on that foam factor on those booms.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I can put another one of those foam things on top of it. Yep.
Roger, yeah, and it doesn't cost anything. Those are frequency-wise are really transparent, so you'll never have a problem. The only problem is if you really start getting them tight and coagulated amongst them, then it could do some really like 10K stuff, but nothing that is going to affect you on HF radio, I don't think.
QSO. Well, thank you, Leon. I believe your name is Leon, and my name is Steve, and thanks a lot for the help.
Roger, Steve. Name here is Jim Juliet India Mike. And if you would like to hear your audio, we are recording from now until 5. If you go to YouTube within the next couple of days, it usually takes us a couple of days to post this. But if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor, that will take you to the QSO-VLOG page. And on that page, you'll be looking for an air check entitled My Group Aircheck 6719. My Group Aircheck 6719. Roger?
Roger. 6719. Got it. Appreciate the help.
Roger. And that radio sounded beautiful. I'll take one. Yeah, good going, sir. And have a great Friday afternoon and good weekend. We'll catch you later. Join us next Friday if you get a chance. This is KC9VKV. This afternoon we are running 4 SDR receivers. We're running Rochester, Raleigh, Milford, PA, and Arlington, Virginia. So just perchance we may have an SDR in your neighborhood, or at least an SDR that has a better copy on you than I do, located near Louisville, Kentucky. So I do have a 6-position rotary switch, which has the 4 SDRs plus my receiver on them, and I do run it around to try to find the best signal. I'm not really interested in necessarily where that might be, but I'm just listening to the audio to find the cleanest signal. And, having to deal sometimes with SDR latencies. Sometimes these SDRs are about 10 to 15 seconds late in their translation, and so that makes it interesting. I hear my last 10 seconds of what I'm saying before I can start listening to somebody's response. But it's a small trade-off for the possibilities of being able to copy somebody 10 over that I wouldn't even have a copy on otherwise. So there you go. This is KC9VKV, and we are listening.
November 8 Yankee Hotel Papa.
Hotel Papa Station, come back slowly and phonetically with your call sign.
Hotel Papa Station, come back slowly and phonetically with your call sign.
Yeah, November 8 Yankee Hotel Papa, Jim. David over here in West Virginia. Just been listening in today, and sound real good here. Over.
Roger, David. What radio are you running, sir?
Roger, David. What radio are you running, sir?
I'm running the 746 Pro and a D104, and that goes into a
almost a flat top at 50 feet, running it through an amplifier about 450 watts there.
Roger. Now, we've talked before about your beautiful sounding D104. That's the one with the amplifier built in.
Beautiful sounding D104. That's the one with the amplifier built in. Yes, it has the FEG amplifier built in. I was going to tell you a little story about my sister. She worked at a music store, and somebody had brought in a Dahlberg audiometer and traded it for a guitar. And we brought that audiometer home, and it has about 15 or 20 channels for testing human hearing to write prescriptions for hearing aids. And I thought that would be a good item to use to test the D104 with. Over.
Oh, Roger. And did you conduct some tests?
Oh, Roger. And did you conduct some tests? Not yet, no. The Dahlberg audiometer is here in the house somewhere. I'd have to look it up and get it out and use it. It's pretty, looks like it might be a pretty expensive piece of portable medical equipment, but it has the different various tones, they use. And in order to achieve a 3 dB increase in a particular voice range, or a voice channel, you have to increase the amplifier by 10 dB. That's because human hearing is logarithmic there. Back to you, Jim.
Oh, Roger. Yeah, I forget what the... there was a test back in 1947 or something. I forget exactly what they called that, but AT&T engineers conducted this test of human hearing and the anomalies that occur and actually what frequency response that they would have to get on the telephone to make it work. And they found that some frequencies, particularly in the syllabic range, was not necessarily up in those 10 KC ranges, that even something around 3 KC, if could be like on a carbon microphone, could exhibit sounding of an S, even though it was not 10 KC, Roger.
Even though it was not 10 KC, Roger. Roger on that. Yeah, there's also a book by Harold Kenley on oscilloscopes, and he mentions the audio capabilities there and how to, he explains the logarithmic character of human hearing, like the amplifiers and everything. So I thought that was good. Thanks for the Aircheck, and you sound good here. I've been listening for about almost an hour, and your signal has been real consistent. You haven't faded out at all. So, of course, we're not that far away. I'm over here in West Virginia. So I'll go ahead and clear with you, and maybe there's some more stations want to check in there. KC9VKV, N8YHP.
Roger, now don't run off, because I just wound up on my local antenna, which is about 5 times better than any of the SDRs, signal strength-wise and fidelity-wise. So I want to get a real good air check of you. So tell me something I don't know, Roger.
Well, you're pretty well versed there in audio, sounds like. But yeah, this is just a stock Silver Eagle D104. I made a foam cover for the crystal element there to stop the pea popping and so forth. But it goes directly into the 746 Pro, and then that goes into my amplifier here. So that's the station here, Jim. Back to you.
Roger. Dynamic range is about 2.5 dB, 3 dB, somewhere just perfect. Average peak modulation then is 80 to 85%. And the audio does not show any of the artifacts that one might think a D104 would have if it were be running without the FET preamp. So it just sounds beautiful. It sounds beautiful. And I'm sure if you conduct them tests with that whatchamacallit machine, that you'll pass with flying colors, Roger.
Roger on that. Yeah. Well, thanks for the good audio report there, Jim. And it's always a pleasure to talk to you.
And I always like to listen in to some of the other stations checking in. Some of them have beautiful audio, too. So, KC9VKV, I'll go ahead and clear and say 73s. Have a good afternoon up there. Good evening. From N8 YHP.
And what was the name again, please?
The name is David.
That's right. I just couldn't find it on my list. I had the call sign and the name. David, three Steves there. Thanks for checking in. Just always a pleasure. And if you get a chance, we'd be looking forward for you to check in next Friday if you get a chance. And we will be posting this Aircheck in the next couple of days. So if you go to YouTube and do that call letter search for KC9VKV and then look for the My Group Aircheck 6719. Today's date, My Group Aircheck 6719. Thanks to you, David. This is KC9VKV and the QSO-VLOG network. If you've got a radio you want to check out, give us a shout.
Romeo Lima Sierra.
Romeo Lima Sierra. What was the number in there?
November 8th, Romeo Lima Sierra. Bob in West Virginia.
Roger, Bob. I'm writing slow these days.
Oh, well, we all are when we get up in age here. I'm running a TS-890 Kenwood with a 781 Howe I just purchased 3 weeks ago, and I'm running 100 watts.
Roger, and what's your location again, Bob?
I'm in southern West Virginia.
Roger, and tell me about your antenna, sir.
I have an inverted V up about 30 feet, and I'm using 80 on the top and 40 on the bottom.
Roger that. And what now? That's 80 meters and 40 meters. Two antennas, one on top of the other.
Yes, sir. The 80 meters is going to almost a flat top, and 40 meters is the inverted V.
Oh, so they're not running parallel to each other.
No.
Roger, and so then you can work on one without coupling back into the other one.
That's correct. You just turn it on and go at it.
Roger, and what kind of SWR are you running, sir?
Oh, about a 1-to-1.
Well, can't hardly do better than that. Well, you can. I get mine down to 0.01, but that's just a challenge to me, Roger.
All right, well, I'm using a tuner.
Roger. Well, then you can go anywhere and just dial up your thing. I've got a tuner, but the only time I ever use it is on 80, and I'm 0.05 center frequency on 80, but when you start to go out on those edges, they do tend to pick up a little SWR, so I do run it through the tuner just to trim up the edges, Roger.
Okay, well, on my 80 now, I can use it without tuner, and SWR on the 40 is about, it'll run about 2 without a tuner.
Roger that. Well, you know, they say that the size of the wire determines the Q, and the Q determines the SWR on the edges. So when you use a small gauge wire, you have a very high Q in the, well, if you have it adjusted for the center frequency, you have a very high Q. So as you move off with that high Q, you start to run into a rising SWR curve coming out on the edges. So, but there are those that run wire that they use for power companies to make a drop from the pole to your house. I mean, this is as big as your thumb, and that wire for an antenna has a very, very flat response, moving mid-scale on out to the edges. Roger.
Oh, you use a cable that big around?
I don't, but I know those that do, and they just they can go from the middle. They can go anywhere they want on the band that they're using it on, and that one that I know of is on 80 meters, 75 meters, and they can go anywhere and have no SWR because again the Q is so low on a wire that fat, that big.
Okay. Well, I'm getting ready to move to Augusta, Georgia here in the middle of July, and I'm getting ready to build me another antenna for down there. So I'm in the process of doing that.
Roger, Roger. Well, think about it. If you really want to run without a tuner, if you use that bigger wire, I will guarantee you, well, I'm not going to guarantee anything, but I've seen that bigger wire demonstrate almost no SWR on the edges, Roger.
Yeah, Roger that there. I'm going to run a kind of a cage antenna. I'm going to run two 80-meter legs, about a foot apart, and try that on each side there.
Roger that. Well, also think about this. Think about, and what I want to try to do one of these days is an A-B switch in your antenna system, and you're running north, south, east, and west, and so you can switch phase angles, and you're bound to always have a hotter signal one way or the other, Roger.
Yeah, that's true there. All right, well, we'll turn it over and let somebody else jump in here. Good talking to you there. My name is Bob on this end, and we'll catch up with you again another day, I'm sure.
Roger, Roger, Bob. 3Z sir. You have a real good afternoon and a great weekend, and we'll catch you later. Again, if you wanted to hear your audio, if you go to YouTube, and do a call out or search in the next couple of days to my group Aircheck, KC9VKV, and then my group Aircheck, and the name is the title of the QSO is my group Aircheck 6719. My group Aircheck 6719. 3's to you, sir. Have a good afternoon. And this is KC9VKV. It's 20 till 5, and we are recording now live until 5. So if you've got a radio you want to check out, give me a shout. KC9VKV.
Kilo Alpha 3, Sierra Bravo Foxtrot.
Kilo Alpha 3, Sierra Foxtrot, Roger.
QSL, sir. It's Kilo Alpha 3, Sierra Bravo Foxtrot. Name here's Ken, Kilo Echo November. And we are located in Jonesboro, Arkansas, QSL.
Roger that, sir. Roger that. Well, you're coming in on my local antenna, and it looks like you're about 6 dB over my average noise level, Roger.
QSL, and that's you're beautiful. Noise level, Roger. We're just running a G5 RV. The apex is up about 55 feet off the tower, and legs are about 30, 35 feet off the ground on each end. And seems to do well on all bands. 20 down through, 20 down through 80, but the SWR here is being reduced by the Palstar HF Auto, and we're running about 400 watts, driving an Ameritron 811H with about 50 to 60 watts coming out of an ICOM 7600 QSL.
Roger. Now, looking at your audio, it looks fairly unprocessed. Your dynamic range looks to be about 8 dB, 7 dB. If you would like a fatter audio, I could suggest, running that your compressor at about a 3. And then consulting your ALC, and with mic gain in hand, adjusting your ALC for mid-scale to 2/3, and that would probably bring you at about 3 dB, which would be an average peak modulation of 80 to 85%, Roger.
No, QSL on that, sir. I'm just, I've been in a hiatus for about 5 years with the radio. Just literally put the shack together within the last couple months, and happy to be back on the air. So I'm still trying to get back to the feel for the 7600's menuing system. But the microphone, by the way, here is a Heil PR40. I'm not sure if that's going to affect anything or not. QSL?
Roger. You're running a 7610?
No, sir. This is the ICOM 7600.
Oh, roger that, roger that. Yeah, if you wanted to take notes, I would give you some notes, and then as you found things, in menu, you could make some adjustments to them. Again, I would run my compressor at about a 3 out of 10. I would engage the compressor and run it at a 3 out of 10. I would then go to my ALC circuit and look at my modulation, and with mic gain in hand, I would adjust that for mid-scale to 2/3. Then I would listen to my audio and maybe crank in just a little more top end, if possible, a couple of clicks hotter top end, and again then go back and check my ALC and make sure it was still mid-range to 2/3. Roger.
No, QSL and that, sir. No, very good. All notes taken. My ALC now, I don't let it ride about halfway. Just don't like to see too much reflection of the ALC. I did hear your comments earlier, what the actual meter reading is. Excuse me, but yeah, very good, sir. Very good. The compressor 3 out of 10. I've never had any good luck with it, but I've also haven't had, I guess, some good ears on the other side, if you will. Such as you're giving me now. So I'm going to try to 3 out of 10, keep the ALC, and also adjust make it a little bit higher on the top end, keeping the ALC in mind. QSL?
Oh, roger that. Yeah, the ALC, that's part of your fattening, because what you're looking at on that ALC meter, you're looking at the output of the system limiter. And ICOM in their 7300s or 7610s have a very, very good limiter in that circuit that you can bring that to mid-scale to 2/3 without any obvious distortion. It's just clean as a tack, and what happens is that it just fattens your signal up. You don't want to push a limiter too far. About 4 dB, 3 to 4 dB is about max for a limiter. So between the compressor and running that limiter from mid-scale to 2/3, you're not in the red, and you're only mid-scale to 2/3, but between those two factors, you do wind up with about 3 dB dynamic range, which would be 80 to 85% peak modulation. Roger.
QSL and that, sir. No, thank you very much for the insight on this and the guidance. Quite literally, I do. I have to dig the mega or the documentation out for this radio. It's been quite some time since I've played with the buttons. And no, I definitely am going to take your advice and adjust that compressor. I've never ran it before at all. I've never turned it on, to be honest with you. I just never really wanted to put myself into that spot. But now that I have a little bit of guidance there, I'll go ahead and do that. So thank you very much for the guidance, and I'm going to say 7-3 to you. Sit back and listen to your final. And if you could, go ahead and send the name of the audio file back over again via YouTube. I did not catch it. This is Kilo Alpha 3 Sierra Bravo Foxtrot. Thank you very much, sir.
Roger. And what was the name there?
Name here is Ken. Kilo Echo November.
Roger, sir. Yeah, if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, that will take you to our QSO-VLOG page, and on that page you'll be looking for an Aircheck called My Group Aircheck 6719. My Group Aircheck 6719. Roger.
QSL, sir. I am putting it into my calendar now, so it'll give me a reminder on Sunday, and we'll look forward then, sir. Thank you so much. Kilo Alpha 3 Sierra Bravo Foxtrot. 7-3, sir.
Roger, Roger, Ken. 3's that way, sir. Have a good afternoon, a good weekend. This is the Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor QSO-VLOG network. If you've got a radio you want to check out the audio, give me a shout. We are running live recording from now until 5.
Whiskey 4, Delta Charlie Lima.
Delta Charlie Lima station. Go ahead.
Hi, Jim. Whiskey 4, Delta Charlie Lima. This is Gerald, and I'm in my mobile today. I want to check out my audio today, sir.
All right. Whereabouts are you located, sir?
Charlotte, North Carolina.
All right. Just give me a little bit, about 10 seconds of your something about your radio so I can tune around the SWRs, see if I can find just a little bit better signal. Roger?
Oh, thank you, Jim. Yeah, I'm a bit better. I got the kids from school today. I heard you on finally figured out how to work the radio. That's a little embarrassing, but it is the truth. And I think I've got it covered.
Roger. Kind of torn between Arlington, Virginia, and my local antenna. Probably I'm going to go with my local antenna. I'll switch to that now. And you're running what radio and how much power?
That's an Icon 7100.
Already, and 100 watts?
100 watts.
Yeah, I don't know where you went there. This KC9VKV, still have a copy?
You still have a copy?
Can you hear me?
In and out, kind of fading in and out. I heard that last part. I was switching between Arlington and my local antenna, and you are fading in and out. But come back and let me hear where we are right at the moment. I'm on my local antenna.
Okay. DCL. As I said, it's an Icon 7100 radio, and I have just started learning how to set up the audio on it. Get a radio check, over.
Roger, Roger. Well, I would set my compressor at a 3 out of 10. Set the compressor at a 3 out of 10. I would crank in a couple of clicks of top-end EQ. Couple of clicks of top-end EQ. Then I would go to my ALC, and with mic gain in hand, I would adjust the ALC for mid-scale to 2/3 operation. Roger?
Well, thank you very much, Jim. I've just done exactly that, everything you've just suggested. Get your subjective opinion on what the sound of the audio was, over.
I think you're beautiful on that audio. You know, it's. I would like a little more solid signal, but you have to deal with what you got. And right now, I'm reading you. You know, sometimes as much as 3 dB above my noise level, then you slide into my noise level. So, but from what I can hear, when you're 3 dB above my noise level, it sounds beautiful. But you be the judge. If you go to YouTube in the next couple of days and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, that will take you to the QSO-VLOG page, and on that page you'll be looking for my group Aircheck 6719. Roger?
Roger, Jim. I think I'm coming to a section where the signal may be a little bit better, and I will definitely check it out to my group Aircheck and see what it sounds like, and I really appreciate you helping me with my signal and helping other people with their audio.
Roger. Come back slowly and phonetically with your call sign again, please.
Whiskey 4, Delta Charlie Lima.
Whiskey 4, Delta Charlie Lima?
Yes, sir.
And what's the name, please?
The name is Carol.
C-A-R-O-L?
C-A-R-R-O-L-L. Roger.
Oh, you're going to burn 2 R's and 2 L's, Roger?
Absolutely.
All right, it's your name. You can afford it.
Thank you for your help, Jim. I appreciate it. 73.
Roger, Roger. 3's that way, Carol, and drive safe, man. That mobile's sounding good when it's up. I just wonder, you know, if you take a right, does my signal come up?
Exactly. Get away from all the structure. That's just great, over.
Yeah, Roger. I just wondered, you know, it kept signal kept coming up. I kept turning right, so I don't know where I am now.
Exactly. Yeah, people get to choose their antenna at home. I don't get to choose much of an antenna, but I get to choose the land I'm parked on, so that makes a difference.
Roger that. All right, 3 sideways, sir, and you have a real good weekend. We'll catch you later. And again, do the call it a search for YouTube, KC9VKV, and my group Aircheck 6719. 3's to you. We are approaching 5 o'clock, at which time I turn into a pumpkin. This is Dr. VKV. That's my local handle in the area. I am called Dr. VKV because sometimes I know the procedures to save signals. So if you get a chance, give me a shout. We do turn into a pretzel or something at 5 o'clock.
Oscar Lima.
Oscar Lima station. Come back with a call sign slowly, phonetically.
Hey, Jim, you also got a portable in there. Hello, young man. Good afternoon. Just put up a V10. Wanted to hear it again. K2SOL.
K2SOL. What's the name there?
Jeremy, previous call, KD2 DMR. We've worked before.
Roger. Jeremy?
Roger.
And what's your location, Jeremy?
We're in Ripley, New York here, about 150 feet from the PA border, and we're running 40-some feet in a V10 east-west, about 800 PEP, so barely touching 100 watts RMS. Figured I'd say hello, heard you out there working, and I wanted to hear this thing again. So K2SOL, good thing you're doing, sir. Back to you.
Roger. I'm copying you at about 30 over on the Milford PA SDR. Roger.
Oh, I'm not even facing that way. I'm facing south. But I guess it's ladder fed, so it's open feed.
Roger. I just moved over to my local antenna. You're a little noisier, but the frequency response is much better. So tell me, now this antenna is running north and south or east and west?
We're beaming east-west. You're anywhere from a 5.6 to a 5.8. I'm running 800 PEP. And it's a V10. There's a V going towards California, Southern California, and there's a wider one heading out east, so I get all of the east that I want. It's not quite perfectly an X at the moment. I want them to 45 from each other, but it is what it is. Yeah, that one does have some years on it. So 5.6 to 5.8 for you, sir. Perfect audio. K2SOL.
Roger. Just checked, and you were 10 over on the Milford PA SDR. Your audio could use, and I don't ever say this, but you could use a click or two boost in the bottom end. You have, a nice audio signal, and it could use a little on the bottom end. Of course, I am copying you on the Milford PA SDR, and I have noticed that SDRs are slightly less active in the bottom lower frequencies for whatever reason. The radio that I'm using now is a highly modified Yaesu FT990, about 30 years old, but it is pretty heavily modified coming and going, and we have looked at the output and made certain adjustments to the audio frequency response using a spectrum analyzer that we're fairly flat between 50 cycles and on past 4K. Roger?
And roger that. I'll open it up to RAG2 for you. I can open the rest of it up as well. Kilo 2 Sierra Oscar Lima, that should tickle your fancy quite well. That's the legal limit there. Let me turn it all back down. Yeah, we don't want to run that. This is regular open mic. I run it in net mode, which this is net mode there. I do a lot of net stuff. But anyways, yeah, nice little QSO there. Just like I said, wanted to hear it again, see what we're doing there. So 3, sir, and 5.9 now. You're coming in much more solid. K2SOL.
Roger. Now, are you running that radio 100 to 2900 wide, Roger?
327 right now.
All right. I just, recommend 100 to 2900 for the 7300s and stuff, so folks don't run in some of those lesser band passes because it tends to just roll off the top end. You notice the articulation just drops off when they get into those lesser band passes other than 100 to 29. Roger?
Yeah, roger that. I like to keep it clean. I'm always on 7185, so 88, holding all that jazz. So, and then 82. I like to keep it nice and tidy there since I'm talking a bunch. So, but yeah, doing good, and this is open as we say, and we're running 228 at the moment. So I'll widen it up just a shade for you. You saw I opened it wide up there. I don't like to do that. So, alrighty, sir. 7-3s and good as always. K2SOL.
OUA 30.
Roger, sir. Three's that way. It's sounding good. And, the routine about going to YouTube and the call letter search for KC9VKV and then the My Group Aircheck. Today is 6719. My Group Aircheck 6719. Roger.
Roger that. I've already got you subscribed and automatic updates, so I watch you regularly. K2SOL.
Roger. And, we are now turning into a pumpkin as we speak. We are a couple of minutes past 5. We have enjoyed it very much this afternoon, and hopefully we will be back next Friday afternoon from 3:30 till 5 on this frequency, 7188. We used to be on 7189, but we're trying to cut a break for our RV service net up on 7191, I think, or somewhere around there. So we did drop down 1K to get out of their hair and they out of ours. So anyway, we've enjoyed it this afternoon, and we were going to say threes, and you guys have a great weekend. We'll see you next Friday. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor, clear.
Whiskey America 3 Ocean, WA 30.
3 Ocean, come back with a call sign again. 3 Ocean, do you copy?
WA30.
Yeah, somebody's hearing me at least. Whiskey Alpha 3 Oscar. The name here is Mike, and the QTH is in West Virginia.
Do you copy me, sir? This is KC9VKV. West Virginia station. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor.
All right, Jim, I didn't know you were coming back to me. Call is Whiskey America 3 Ocean. I've worked before, a friend of Charlie's. I wanted to try a little something. I have 2 antennas up. I wanted to see if you noticed any difference of a vertical and a just over. You probably won't notice any difference, but just wondering if you do. Again, I'm in Weirton, West Virginia. Name here is Mike. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, but we're at our summer home this weekend, and that's where I'm at. So I don't know which antenna is which, but this is the one antenna, and then the other antenna, and back to the original antenna. So just wondering if you noticed any difference, Jim. Over.
Roger. I'm copying you on the Rochester SDR, and that last antenna was about 3 dB hotter than the other antenna. The last one you used was about 3 dB hotter than the other antenna. Roger, you want to check that one more time? Call one something and call the other one 2 or something.
Check that one more time. Call one something and call the other one 2 or something.
All right, we'll do that. Yeah. So we'll say this is a 11111 22222 11111 22222 and back to 11111.
All righty, 2 was about 2.5 dB hotter than the other. It was about 2 dB or 2.5 dB hotter, Roger.
2 dB or 2.5 dB hotter, Roger.
Yeah, Roger, Jim. I'll let you go. I want to try one more thing before miles northwest of Pittsburgh right now, but I have my remote with, I think, my amplifier on. See if you can hear me on the remote there real quick. So hang on a second here.
Hi, Jim. This is the remote. I'm hearing myself.
in West Virginia here. I'm running about 500 watts in Pittsburgh with a vertical. So back to you.
Roger. I just moved over to the Milford, PA, and you're sounding beautiful, sir. Give me those two again, so we'll get them on tape. Roger.
Yeah, Roger. This is West Virginia. 100 watts in West Virginia, and
this is Pittsburgh, about 500 watts, and I'm hearing myself in West Virginia. Try not to listen to myself in the echo. Over.
Roger. That last one seemed to be a little hotter to me, monitoring the Milford, PA SDR. Roger.
Yeah, unfortunately, it goes through the internet and on a cell phone. And I haven't got a chance to really adjust the audio. The rig in Pittsburgh is a 7300, running a remote hams, running an LD MOS amplifier, running about 500 watts into a homebrew 34-foot vertical. I know you want to run 73, so thanks for the help.
Roger. Well, you're hot in Rochester, New York, and Milford, PA. About 15 over in both those SDRs. So we'll say threes for now, and you guys have a good weekend. And this is KC9VKV and the QSO-VLOG network will be clear.
VKV and the QSO-VLOG network will be clear.